Hello, and welcome to TP's Music Talk podcast. My name is Ryan Ford.
And I'm Nick Replinger.
And you can find us at our website, tpmusictalkpod.wordpress.com.
And you can also find us at anchor.fm/TP Music Talk Podcast and other major podcasting platforms by searching for TP's Music Talk Podcast.
You can find us on other social media as well, like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Tumblr, and others by searching for TP Music Talk Podcast or for TP Music Talk Pod on Twitter. Just look for our logo.
And you can also email us at tpmusictalkpodcast@gmail.com.
We also have shared playlists on Apple Music and Spotify that you can check out by searching TP's Music Talk Podcast as well.
And don't forget to click the link in the description and leave us a voice message on Anchor. And feel free to leave us a message or a review anywhere you're listening. It really helps us out. And don't forget, donations are always appreciated. You can find a link to donate in the description of any of our episodes.
No part of our show can be reproduced without permission or written consent.
Hey Ryan, what are you doing this weekend?
Yeah, man, I'm hanging out with McKay. We're going to take a look at his latest engravings and talk about giveaways for I Engrave stuff.
Oh yeah, that's awesome, especially about those giveaways. And you know, I was on the internet the other day and I saw these ads for these other engraving services, and man, their prices are expensive.
Yeah, man. A lot of those other engraving companies will charge you up the wazoo for things. But I've noticed that McKay's company, they have items that are priced very reasonably, making it affordable, especially this year, to get a personalized and really impactful gift. Get your parents something that is heartfelt with your signature, or you can even do a letter in your own handwriting on something.
Oh yeah, that's right. And you can even send a scan of your handwriting on a letter, and they can engrave it onto a sign, a bottle, or whatever you could think of. The possibilities are endless with them.
Yeah, and right now, if you're in the checkout area, you can type in TP10 in all caps in the promo code box, and you'll get an extra 10% off. A gift from us. Go to iengravestuff.com today. Hello, and welcome back to Transmitter. I'm Ryan Ford.
And I'm Nick Replinger, and we have an exciting episode for you today.
Yeah, today we're going to be talking about how music has influenced the younger generation. We've got my sister Lacey here. She's about 6 years younger than me. For frame of reference, I'm 25. Nick is...
I'm 25, soon to be 26, but yeah.
Yeah, so we've got about 6 years of difference, and the reason we're doing this today is we thought it would be cool to ask Lacey some questions and just see what she thinks about music today and what has influenced her, because, I mean, 6 years doesn't seem like very much, but in the music world, there's so much that has transgressed in that amount of time. So, Lacey, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us how you're doing today.
I'm Lacey. I'm 19 years old, and I am doing great.
Awesome. And do you want to just kind of tell us about yourself really quick? Give people kind of an idea of who you are, what you like.
Okay. I have been really into music for long as I can remember. It's not really just listening to the radio. You know, I would always get invested in artists, and...
Yeah, so you enjoy music. You've always found it interesting. Mm-hmm. What kinds of music do you like?
Well, when I was younger, I was strictly pop music, and that's it. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't really branch out. But now I actually wrote down a list prior to this interview, and it's all my favorite artists are pretty much all alternative. Mm-hmm. So
what would you describe as alternative? Because I personally, when I think of alternative rock. What would you describe as alternative?
Well, just a few examples of artists like 21 Pilots, Panic at the Disco, The Neighborhood, one of my favorite bands, Calpurnia, Wallows, naming bands that you probably don't know the names of or know who they are, but
I personally know all of those bands, so
yeah.
I know maybe like I recognize like the first four, and then like the last two is like, oh.
Yeah, but yeah, and then pop, it's very different because alternative has a different feel to it, and pop, almost every pop artist that I like usually has a song on the radio. But favorite pop artist that I like is Ariana Grande, and she always plays on the radio. So
yeah. Well, and so to go from there, I would ask you next, how has the music that you've listened to throughout your life influenced you in your life?
Influenced me? I don't know. I mean, like, first, when I was very, very young, my favorite artist, I was like 10 years old maybe, was Selena Gomez. And I had like all of her CDs, and she was like the person I wanted to be. I loved her and all that. And then I think it's influenced me in different ways. Not so much, I don't know. I get to know the artist sometimes. I don't just listen to the music. I actually get into what the artist's about and stuff. To me, like, artists that are singing about good things and have good instruments in the background and background vocals and whatever, but then I find out that they're not a good person, then I'm like, I kind of wing off of them. And so learning about how they write music and what they do to fix things in their songs, like what they've added, has influenced me to look more openly on things. And like, I don't know how to describe it, but
no, I definitely get what you mean, because that's what I love to do with my music, specifically in the rock genre. Like, my all-time favorite is 3 Days Grace. I know a lot about their personal lives. I know it sounds kind of creepy, but I love the way that they write a lot of their music, because a lot of their music, it's even in the name 3 Days Grace, deals about their personal lives and how, because 3 Days Grace, it represents, like, if you had a 3 days grace period to change something about your life, what would it be? And that's what their songs are about things that they've gone through, that their fans have gone through, or something like that, if they wish they could change that. And it has a lot more depth and a lot more meaning, just like you do when you check out all your different artists, right?
Yeah, and one of my favorite bands is Little Mix, and I have been there since the beginning. And basically, some of their songs are like really, really good, but they don't talk about, not all of their songs, all of their songs talk about the same exact thing, like radio songs.
Yeah.
But them as people are amazing. Like, girl power, and you should do what you want, you should love yourself. They're very inspirational, and I really like that about artists, that sometimes they put it into their music, and sometimes they just want to have fun with their music.
Yeah, well, and certainly from looking into the band members of a specific band, or if it's just one person, the lead vocalist or something, it can give you a lot of insight as to what the band is about and what vocalists sing about and what they are trying to put out there for their audience.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can definitely all agree that that's something that everyone does.
Mm-hmm.
And the next question that we had for you would be, what do you consider to be old music? Do you consider the 80s to be old? Do you know, when you look back at like the 2000s, when you were just growing up, is there anything that you're like, oh yeah, that's super old? I don't know, what is old music to you?
Well, I honestly love old music, and like what I consider old music is really anything that sounds way different than today's music, because today's music is very, very different from even 2010. Me and my best friend, we sit in the car and we listen to a playlist of early 2000s. And it's like Britney Spears and then some Kesha and Ignition by... Anyway, but we like, it's just good feeling music. Like, you can just... It brings back memories. And then old music, I love 60s, 70s, and I love 60s and 70s music is more, I don't know how to describe it. I honestly can't think of a word to describe it, but 80s music is more like, it has some beats in it and it has groovy and whatever. And 70s is more like something that your grandma would maybe listen to. I don't know. But 80s is really just genuinely good music. It's really good music.
It was a good era.
Yeah, and then, I don't know, I consider everything back from maybe 2015, 2013, and back is considered old music to me, because none of that music really sounds like today's music. Most of today's music is all about the beat drop and, I don't know, stuff like that. I don't know.
That's an interesting perspective, because I think that when Nick and I think of old music, we kind of think back to maybe 60s with the Beatles.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And that sort of thing. And then when you get into the 80s, like, obviously that was before our time, but, you know, we wouldn't necessarily consider it to be old. And I mean, it doesn't sound like you were making it out to be that way either. I think everybody, the majority of people, really love 80s music. It was just a great era of music. But yeah, it's interesting to hear your perspective on like how they sounded and what you think of kind of each decade. I like how you kind of broke it down like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really cool that you even say you listen all the way back to the 60s, because honestly, a lot of people who are still in their teens, when I talk about music from back then, they're like, who? I've never even heard of that. And so I think that's really cool that you even branched out all the way to the 60s and that far back.
Yeah.
And continuing on, sorry, we're kind of just going down this list here, but the next question we had for you, and you've kind of already addressed it, but I was hoping you could go into more detail. What are some of your favorite bands or band growing up versus now?
So when I was a teenager, well, first it was Selena Gomez to start off with. That was of course, Hannah Montana before that. But, but like, then it was Selena Gomez. And then I kind of went through a time where I was just like, I didn't have a favorite somebody to look up to and buy all their music and get posters of them and blah, blah, blah. But then the end of 2011 came and I got really, really into One Direction. I don't know what made me love them. I was so into them until they broke up. Not really I don't know what to say. I don't know what's going on with them, but
I didn't like one of them like leave the group and start his own solo career.
Yeah, Zayn left the group, and that day we will all remember. Yeah, I was strictly into them. I would not branch out to anything. Like if any other friends at school, they would say, oh, I really like this artist, she has this cool song, or he has that cool song, blah blah blah, and you should really listen to that album. I'm like, no, One Direction is superior. Like I was so focused on them. And then I wasn't just listening to them, I would watch their interviews all the time, and they would actually talk about artists that they like or have a crush on or something like that, or have worked with or whatever. So I would only listen to artists that they recommended.
Okay.
So they were on the X Factor, and one of the people on the X Factor with them was Cher Lloyd. So I got into her music, and Zayn started dating Perry from Little Mix, and so I got into Little Mix, and Niall had a crush on Demi Lovato, so I listened to Demi Lovato. Ed Sheeran wrote a song for them, Little Things, and so I got into Ed Sheeran. I was just in this very bubble of artists that they like and them. Did not want to branch out. But then, I can't remember exactly what year it was, but when they broke up, I got really sad, and then I was just like, I really need to find new music because, I can't just listen to them for the rest of my life. I branched out, and I learned that I not only just like pop music, I have so many different genres that I listen to. I didn't know there was so many genres because I was so uneducated about different kinds of music. So it started off with kind of listening to Ryan's kind of music, like The Neighborhood. He would send me stuff. The Neighborhood, the 1975, love that. Panic at the Disco, 21 Pilots.
Stuff that I thought you would like.
Yeah, and those have become like my favorite bands. But then I went through a phase of listening to like hardcore, just strictly indie, and then indie alternative, and I've learned that alternative is my all-time favorite genre. I don't, this is just a little side note, is I don't like country. Like, I can listen to anything besides country. I just really cannot get down to it or, like, listen to it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Favorite bands now, or artists, there's a lot, but Ariana Grande, Calpurnia, Wallows, Weezer, the ones that I mentioned, like Neighborhood and blah, blah, blah. And I really like Billie Eilish. Eilish.
Eilish, yeah.
Eilish, yeah. And I still like Little Mix so much because they're still releasing music and they're still doing great. So I still like some other people that I used to listen to, just I've really branched out.
That's really cool. And also, next question that we have, we kind of touched on a little bit, like a little bit more of elaboration.
And if it's okay, Nick, I just want to add one thing before we go into that.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that I think everybody kind of goes through that stage where they find one band or one artist that is just so amazing to them, and they'll start and just kind of obsessing over that one person or one band, one group, and then it just kind of will spiral out from there. I feel like, specifically with like pop bands, when you think about like Bieber Fever, or how much people love the Backstreet Boys, there's a lot of pop artists specifically where people will get kind of that fever, where they just want to listen to their music. And so, yeah, it's kind of cool to hear you talk about that, because I know that Nick and I have had our own situations like that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
With our own bands. But anyway, Nick, take it away.
But yeah, so you talked about how you reached out into find other different kinds of music. Like, sounds like you had a phase where it's just only like One Direction kind of fueled and some of it from Ryan. But the question is, what is your main source of finding new music compared to then to now today?
That is such a good question because so back then I would just listen to what was on the radio and whatever. But then when I got my first iPod, I was mostly just had Lady Gaga and just like the songs that played on the radio and stuff. But then I started to, after the One Direction thing, I would download all of One Direction stuff and blah, blah, blah. And so I would just strictly find music from One Direction or the radio. But now I literally find music from everywhere. Someone will mention a song. I have an app, Shazam, and you can just touch on the screen and hold it up to what's playing and it will recognize the song.
Yeah, I love Shazam. It's great.
Yeah, we use it
But
too.
yeah, I do that all the times in stores. Sometimes I'll be in, I remember one time in Forever 21, a song was playing and I was like, what is this song? So I downloaded the app and I found that song and then I really liked that artist. I began to really like that artist. And mostly social media is where I find most of my music because like sometimes I'll find a song but I'll only listen to that song from that one artist because I really like the song and don't feel like branching out to the artist, branching his other albums or whatever. I have had and have Twitter fan account and follow a whole bunch of people that post like edits of TV shows. They'll put clips together and do like and they'll put music in the background, and usually that's probably my number one source of finding new music because they have really good music in the background of an edit. That's where I'll find some really great songs. So
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's really cool because when Ryan and I when we were discovering our own music, it was very different. I mean, Facebook and social media, they were still kind of coming out from
Brand
new. When I first was growing up, I only had really my parents' music to listen to, and Ryan was the same way too. We talked about it on a previous podcast, and then when I branched into my own music, it was like by either radio, word of mouth by friends, or YouTube. That's the only places where I really found new music. But it's really cool to hear you when you were growing up, and you had the internet at your hands, and also cell phones, so you could use Shazam and find all these other different ways to find new music. I think it's really cool how that kind of has like developed.
yeah.
And how you can just find all different kinds of music and how people can actually get their music out there too.
And I would add to that, when you look back at when Nick and I were growing up, everything, like Nick was saying, was not as easily accessible. Like, you can go to YouTube and listen to any song you want now. Back then, I mean, people would go and they would download music illegally through, like, LimeWire or FrostWire.
Napster.
Not that we know anything about any of
No,
that.
of course not.
Nope.
So, yeah, I mean, it's interesting to look and see how things have changed in that regard.
Yeah. And so going to the next question, kind of going from that, another way that I found new music was through music videos, and that's what I want to talk to you about next is, are music videos still popular in your opinion, and should artists still even bother to make them?
Music videos are still very popular in my opinion because when an artist comes out with a music video, everyone freaks out and has 10 million screenshots in their camera roll from the music video because people really like the artist. And Taylor Swift's new music video for Me,
Featuring Brendan Urie.
Yeah,
of,
sorry, yeah.
Panic at the Disco.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I still even check that out. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember scrolling on Twitter and just seeing a girl just freak out, having 10 million screenshots, and is like, oh, did you catch this part and this part and whatever. And it's a good way to kind of let the artist describe what the song is about or what he or she envisioned, to kind of put it in a picture, because literally listening to a song is just listening to it. But when you see like a video, some videos are just like, doesn't really go with the song or doesn't make sense, but they're still really enjoyable to watch. I don't know.
Still relevant.
Yeah.
Still something that...
Yeah. And it gives a good... This is kind of funny, but some people take screenshots, like I said, the music videos, and then they put it as their fan account profile picture. So that's good too.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I think they're still very relevant.
And so next question is, do you think music is still thriving today?
Some music, yes. Not just off at the top of my head is Ariana Grande has 3 songs that are eligible to go double platinum. Like 3 songs, and that's amazing. She has amazing vocals and performance and all of that. Today's music some can be really different. The whole mumble rap thing, personally not my style, but some of it is just kind of weird to listen to. There's this one song, I don't know what the artist was thinking, but sometimes they just talk about things that are just completely random. But then there you find this really good song, really good to listen to and really good to just have fun to. I don't know how to. Yeah.
No,
that's great. I think that's great that you brought up mumbler, because we also want to talk to you about what your opinion was on that. And what do you think mumble rap is so popular? Why are people listening to it?
I don't know, to be honest. The first time I heard mumble rap was because of video, and it was a meme, basically. Just, I don't know. I think in some ways it's cool. In my opinion, I don't think it's very cool at all, kind of. It's just kind of, to me, it's annoying to listen to, in my opinion, just because they're just talking about whatever comes to their head and just not really enunciating and not very, just like, it doesn't have that much meaning to what I like in a song.
More about the instrumentals than really the lyrics in some cases.
Yeah.
And to kind of go back and talk about the last 2 or 3 questions we've asked you, as far as like the music videos and whether you think music is thriving, that's really cool that you think that the music videos are still relevant, because we loved music videos growing up, still love them today, and so we would agree with you there. And yeah, when you describe how certain genres of music seem to be thriving, but maybe not other ones, or just in specific aspects, I think in a way what I would kind of agree with you there as well. Certain genres that used to be really popular now have kind of fallen to the wayside, so it's interesting to see how things have changed, and that's why we're here today to talk about this with you.
But yeah, so then also right now we're very rock based in our taste in music, and a lot of people say that rock is dead. Would you agree with that statement, or do you think it'll ever make a comeback, or what is your view on the scene?
Okay, rock, describe that for me.
So anything rock that's rock and roll, it's guitar, bass, and drum and vocals driven. Could be anywhere from like the Beatles all the way to progressive metal, just anything rock.
Okay. Yeah. I was like, maybe Screamo or so? Or
no, Screamo, that can fall under that too. Anything that you can, because I get, rock, that could be a very broad term. So yeah, just anything that you would, I guess, is a guitar driven.
What was the question again?
Well, maybe let's break it down this way. Like, if you look at what Nick and I listened to when we were younger, stuff like Linkin Park, early Linkin Park, that was more nu metal oriented, or Nirvana, which was heavily grunge, Alice in Chains, stuff like that. There's a very large prevalence as far as the guitar work, and it was a lot more of a hard, edgy sound. And I feel like a lot of that has kind of disappeared in the past couple decades.
Because there is still a movement of rock, but it's very rare when you see those rock bands on the top 200 and all that stuff, except for maybe if you like maybe the Foo Fighters or Metallica or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I would say that rock isn't necessarily dead, because people still listen to the old rock. And so, I mean, it's still getting listened to, unlike maybe like disco, where practically no one's listening to it.
It's a good example.
Yeah. But I think that people just maybe just decided, because I always see, like when I look at an album, I always see what genre it is. And it always seems to never ever say rock. It says indie/rock or alternative/rock. Because like they're putting a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So it's not full on rock music. It's more a hint of rock or whatever. Like, so I wouldn't necessarily say it's dead, but you don't see that much of, like you said, that much on like the top charts or whatever.
Exactly.
So not many people listen to it, because they're more into, because they're practically been brainwashed to listen to what's on the radio, and you don't hear that on the radio. So I don't think it's dead, but just people have a very...
It's definitely the evolution has changed for it a lot, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and maybe that's a consequence of the 90s and 2000s, because you had all of the genre mixing and the nu metal sound and that kind of thing, which helped kind of stir the mixing pot for rock and roll. It was less of like an essence of rock and more other genres thrown in, I guess.
Yeah, so I guess moving on from that, we want to talk about something more, your opinion. Is there any specific event in music that happened recently that you think is important or significant?
Specifically in your life, not looking back past,
Something that happened in music that was Let me think.
And it can be anything. If you think that Ariana Grande's newest album was... Because she did break a lot of records.
Yeah, she beat the Beatles. Like, the Beatles didn't even do that. Like, have 3 number 1 records from one album. Amazing. But, yeah, she is rocking it right now. She's doing amazing. I don't know. I mean, because most of the things that happen are mostly just about pop singers. I never really hear, because I really like not well-known bands or whatever, or artists or something. So they don't really get to the top. They don't do something completely significant that everyone knows about it. They're still really relevant and important, but I
wouldn't say it's like groundbreaking, like how Beatlemania or the British Invasion or Nirvana became big, or like anything big like with the Backstreet Boys or Britney Spears, how they had their own waves or anything like that.
Well, the thing that I can think of is not really recently. I mean, Ariana Grande is the only person I can think of that's recent. But like when I was really into One Direction, they would win awards all the time, and they would come out, like they have 3 movies, concert movies, and so that's really amazing. And they were the biggest boy band in the world. There's like a clip in one of the movies and in I think it's like Good Morning America or something, but the lady says, oh, they're the biggest boy band in the world, not even the Beatles did that, or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but they were just really just killing it for long time. Just keep going and going. Really anything that they did was really just amazing.
Pretty significant for
you. Yeah, like I remember when their album Midnight Memories came out, it got leaked a week before or a couple days before. I can't remember exactly, but like I remember everyone talking about it. And towards the actual release date, they did a thing. It was a 24-hour live stream. It was called 1D Day, and it was so fun to watch and kind of just be a part of. They would take fans from the audience of the little studio that they were in and put them in a little phone booth box and say, oh, you can listen to our album. And they were trying to act like nothing happened, like it didn't get leaked. But like that happened to every single album after that. It always got leaked. Then it always got leaked, but then it always went to number 1 in almost every single country. And even if it got leaked, people still bought it and it still reached the top. So that just first thing I could think of.
It's funny that you mentioned leaks as well, not to kind of go off subject here, but I feel like that's kind of maybe what helped contribute to the starting of the surprise drops from like hip hop artists and, dropping mixtapes and that sort of thing, because albums for a while there, and I mean they still do, were getting leaked all the time. And so I think that's why you started seeing more of the surprise drops. I could be wrong there, but it's just something that I noticed and I thought I'd talk about.
Yeah.
But anyway, continuing on.
Alrighty. Well, so our next question is, what do you think about the music that Ryan and I listen to, or that your parents or your grandparents listen to?
Let's start off with my grandma. She was really into the Beatles and Queen. She loved Queen. She has a few of their CDs, I think, and we used to listen to them in her car when I was little. So I'm very familiar with their top songs. But then, like, my parents, they grew up in the 80s, and my dad was really into Depeche Mode. And I love Depeche Mode so much.
Great band.
Yeah, great band. But they were more on the alternative side of... My mom has told me that she used to just listen to more alternative stuff from the 80s, like stuff that you wouldn't hear on the radio, and stuff that really people don't really talk about. Because when you think of the 80s, you think of Hungry Like the Wolf, or...
Yeah, Duran Duran, or Metallica.
Or a-ha, or...
Foreigner.
Or Def Leppard.
Or Careless Whisper.
Or Michael Jackson.
Yeah, like there's so many.
Much.
But like you think of the people that were just always on the radio, but a couple of times she'll turn on the radio now she'll go to a station and she's just like, oh my gosh, they're playing like stuff that I used to listen to all the time. Because she used to go on drives with her sister, so my aunt, and they would drive. She told me the story how she would drive over the point of the mountain. She would drive where she would get this certain radio station, and they would just, because they didn't get it where they lived, so they would drive clear until the radio started coming clear. And they would listen to it, and it would just be, I don't even know the artists because they're very alternative 80s music. Yeah, I really enjoy listening to old music, especially with someone that was actually there when the song came out or when they used to listen to it, because it always comes with a story. Like, it always says, oh, this song, I remember I danced to it at my junior prom or something like that. It always comes with a story, and I love hearing about that. So I really enjoy listening to their music and hearing their input on it, of where they were or how they found it or whatever. So.
Well, and I know that we're not too much older than you, but, you know, what do you think about kind of our age of music and what we grew up on?
So, your age of music, well, your music was basically just Linkin Park, Asking Alexandra.
Oh.
Alexandra, yeah.
Yeah, or just like bands that are very, like or Eminem, oh my gosh. Like, I remember driving to school every morning at like 7 a.m. in the morning, and you would have your speakers in your car, like your stick shift car, and you used to turn it up so loud, and it was 7 in the morning, and sometimes you would have to turn it down entirely because he would say something really inappropriate, and I was in 5th grade. I was in 5th grade listening to Eminem on the way to school with my brother.
I'm sorry about that, by the way.
But the only thing I know about your generation of music is what you listen to. Because when I think of music of your generation, I can't even think of anything, because you didn't listen to like Britney Spears or Mariah Carey or I don't even know. You didn't listen to most pop stuff or whatever.
I preferred to stay in the more alternative side of things, much like you and our parents and our grandparents. I feel like our family and Nick as well kind of grew up trying to stay away from radio-friendly music because it was just always available on the radio, so you didn't want to listen to it as much.
Yeah.
Not to say that it's bad.
Yeah. But the music that you used to listen to, or I just thought of one, Breathe Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I remember you listening to that a lot too. Or 303.
Mm-hmm.
I don't listen to them in ages.
But, I was only familiar with that stuff. I was never familiar with the stuff on the radio because I would never really listen to the radio. Mm-hmm. The first song I remember actually listening to on the radio was 2012, 2013. It was Justin Bieber, Beauty and the Beat. That's the actual song. That's the only song I remember listening to on the radio and not on a CD, because we would always have CDs in the car. Gwen Stefani was one of our top CDs that we would listen to as a family. Mm-hmm. And then, Prince.
Prince, yes.
Oh my gosh, I love Prince. We used to listen to his album Purple Rain all the time, and we loved listening to that as a family. So I never really listened to the radio as a kid. And when I first was listening to the radio, it was on my little alarm clock, and it was Radio Disney. So yeah, that mostly I would just listen to CDs and stuff that I would like. Now that I think about it, I never really listened to the radio. But
that's what happens when you grow up in a family that is as involved in music as we are, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, moving on is okay if I...
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Our next question here. Who would you say is the most influential artist or group in today's music industry?
I know I keep mentioning her, but Ariana Grande, because she's literally everywhere. But one of the things that I'm not very into, but is literally taking over the world, is K-pop.
Yes.
K-pop, really?
Yeah. Everyone loves K-pop. Any type. The bands I can think of is BTS and then Blackpink.
BTS is who I was going to say as well, yeah.
I haven't listened to K-pop, and I don't want to judge it before I listen to it, but I just don't think it's my style of music that I want to listen to. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
So, in case anybody who's listening to this doesn't know what K-pop is, what is K-pop?
Korean pop, so it's just basically... I don't know how to describe it. We'll have to look up a definition. But it's just
Well, I mean, I would say, with K-pop, there's kind of that, at least with BTS, there's that kind of boy band feel. I feel like there's a lot of people that have kind of like that Bieber fever over them. And so I think that there's a lot of people your age that really love listening to them. And you said that you're not really on that bandwagon.
Yeah, well, most of the songs that I've heard have been very aggressively, not really electronic, but like has very aggressive beats and electronic feel to it. I wouldn't necessarily say electronic, but just like a little bit of it, maybe. Mm-hmm. But like beats that are just very aggressive in your face. I'm not like bashing on them or anything, but it's just not my type of music that I like to listen to. I like to listen to something that I can just either chill to, dance to, or bang my head to. Like I sometimes just like, but they're more, everyone that listens to their music pretty much knows all of the choreography to that song. So they would be doing the choreography because like they're really into people that I've seen. Like some people on Instagram that I know of really like K-pop, and like they record themselves dancing in the car to it, and they'll be like doing practically their choreography that they do on stage. And I don't know, it's just a very specific genre of music.
Yeah, it's almost in a way kind of a new sound, and maybe that's why people are so drawn to it. They've been on the top charts. They've been, in some of the trending videos on YouTube. It'll be interesting to continue to watch that genre, and maybe we'll have to do an episode on it sometime. But Lacey, thank you so much for letting us kind of interview you today. It's really been a pleasure, and we just appreciate you taking the time. To kind of close things out here, we would want you to just kind of tell the audience if you have anything going on. I know you've got a YouTube channel, and if there's anything else you want to mention where people can find you at.
Okay, I have a YouTube channel. The name is Lace Edits. Basically, it's just videos of little clips of songs that are placed into one video. Will be called 80s and 90s music, or my current playlist, or my favorite male artists, stuff like that. So it's a really good way to find new music. That's why I kind of started the channel. So yeah, that's my YouTube channel, Lace Edits. And then my Twitter is Lacey X Powell. Yeah, so my Twitter and Instagram are LACEYX and then POWELL. And Twitter, I have a little thread of songs that I like, that I'm into, if you want to hear some songs that I'm into. And then Apple Music is the same if you want to follow me on Apple Music.
That's awesome. So Lacey X Powell, and yeah, we post a lot of playlists and things on Spotify and Apple Music too, so that's awesome. But yeah, thank you so much again for coming, and hopefully we can have you again on the show sometime.
Alright, and we're going to leave you again with some lyrics, but this time chosen by Lacey. So you want to go ahead and tell us who the lyrics are by and what song, and yeah, take it away, Lacey.
Okay, this song is called This Is the Day, and the band, I don't know exactly how it's said, but the and the lyrics are, this is the day your life will surely change. This is the day when things fall into place.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next episode.